We should be good now. So, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I am Nerder Doug. I am still Nerder Doug, and I am here to rescue you from the humdrum with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted, how are you doing this fine evening, sir?
Fantastic. We got a little rehearsal there in. So, as everybody knows, we said you can rescue your games from not having the material you need. Down below, there's a link to our chat sponsor, D&D Beyond, longtime sponsor. There's also a link directly to our own out-of-the-box encounters, which have a home on D&D Beyond, which, as far as we know, is the only third-party content to have that status. So that's pretty cool.
So you can rescue all that time that you might be using to prep, plan, and play D&D by using D&D Beyond to speed it up and power your game and make it that much better and easier.
That's right. And we had said, so, usually these topics are something that one of us proposes based on something that happened in our own games or just something we we're thinking about. And in this week's case with Rescue, in case you hadn't guessed that yet, it is the former from Nerdarchy Ted.
Yeah, so I was, I've been watching a live play game for, a little while now after we had them on the chat. So I've been talking back and forth with the DM and a couple of the players. And at first I was like, hey, Dave went and gamed with you guys. Any chance that Nerdarchy Ted could get a guest spot at some point in time? And there's been back and forth and there's been fun and planning and all kinds of problems ensued. And initially things were going to happen that next month I was going to get a chance to be on the game. But alas, more problems ensued. So I had gotten so far as to actually have like a 2-hour offline chat with the DM. We came up with this whole backstory, helped fleshed out parts of his world that my character was going to be from, and we were going to do this rescue mission. And rescue missions are something that's such a big staple of this game that I'm like, I don't think we've covered this topic. And there's so many other avenues and off spokes that I could take this kind of conversation. So that's why I propose it, and that's why I said, let's go with it.
Yeah. Oh, and I love it too. It made me think. And it was so long ago, and we kept delaying it to do other ones in the meantime too. So I've actually thought about it quite a bit, and it was fun to look through my own campaign notes from my longest campaign, that Spelljammer one, and I just was like, I had vague memories of things, and I just searched for the word rescue and stuff. There was quite a few, some more memorable than others, and some that they never got to. But I think rescue missions and quests are quite a lot of fun to participate in for sure. Have you run or been in a player in many in your?
Oh, remember? It's such a big staple that rescue missions I've run more times, or played in more times than I even care to count. In anything recent, I don't think so. But I mean, it's probable, it's possible. But players missing, for the evening. Easy fallout is, well, that person's kidnapped, and you
got to rescue them
and rescue them. And lo and behold, once they're free, okay, we'll end the session and we'll pick back up here next time. And easy peasy. It's so iconic. It's been done so many times, but all you have to do is just change the flavor or the nature of what it was that kidnapped or where they were kidnapped. And you don't have to worry about it because each one becomes different. Like, what is the bad guy? Where is the bad guy? And you can still have the same kind of adventure. You go through traps, you fight monsters, you get treasure, and hey, you get your buddy back.
And it's kind of has a built-in, almost guaranteed player hook too, because there's a meta sense to it too, right? It's like, well, everybody knows we're doing this because so-and-so couldn't make it tonight. Right. So it's not like, why would our characters do it? It's like, well, it's like, because we're just doing this because the guy's not there. So, and it also doesn't have to make as much sense with the ongoing story of the party. It's just it's just a red herring or just a weird thing that happens. So it's pretty easy as a player to buy into that and be like, okay, let's go do it.
I don't know why we invite so and so to game with us. I mean, he's showing up late. He's not appearing at times. He's the one that's always creating problems.
Yeah, right.
All right.
The way a lot of groups go, my own included many times, it's like you could just have every week be a rescue mission because somebody misses all the time. It's like, well, maybe that's just your campaign. You're professional rescue specialists who specialize in rescuing each other.
Parks is saying it right here. Rescue missions are some of the backbones of RPGs. Of course, the princess is in another castle. If you want to use the trope from Mario, it's a good one.
Right.
But
okay.
No, the thought of doing it every time, I think players would get a little
sure.
that, but the process of coming up with wait a second, you wouldn't go and rescue your friend if all of a sudden something came and drug him away. I can't think of a single time that my character would ever say, nah, let my party member die.
Oh, for sure. Right. Yes. That's the other thing. And for the characters, obviously, it's like pretty easy incentive too. Again, it would be like, why would we go do this or be suspicious? It's like, because it's the guy you've been adventuring with for like the past year and faced certain doom with. And
so I think in one of the last campaigns that I ran, they were traveling through the desert and something like pulled one of the characters beneath the sand.
Okay. Oh, that's a great setup right there. I'm already hooked.
Because again, that player wasn't there. And it was a process of, they went adventuring through the tunnels in the sand to try and find their companion. And lo and behold, they got him back at the end. It was one of those things, but it was I think that's the last time that I did it. So it was within the last 2 years.
And that's a great example too of, like you said earlier, the bare bones are the same, but depending on like where you're at, what causes the character to be needing and rescue and stuff is so completely different and open to so many options that like you said right there, it's like, well, yes, if you had somebody kidnapped every week, yes, that would be boring, but it's like that was just a sinkhole that opened, and sure, it's a little meta that like that missing person or whatever is the one who fell in, but nevertheless, it's different enough,
And like the big trope is you end with you rest for the evening, and during that person's watch or somebody falls asleep, and and that person's missing. But to try and figure out, well, how can you execute it differently?
Right.
And that's where it was like, okay, the person's there, everybody is walking, something literally reaches up from the desert sands and yoink, he gets pulled. So
yeah,
everybody witnesses it happen. So,
and it doesn't even have to be a creature too. That's the thing. It's like, sinkholes and stuff happen all the time. That could just spur your curiosity. Like, well, is there something under here? Like, why would that happen? Yeah, sure. There's a dungeon. Surprise.
In mine, it literally was a creature that
right. Sure.
A sinkhole, a chasm could open up.
A portal. We're talking D&D and magic, so it's like literal. Like a god could just like reach down and be like, boop, and just like a big hand pull them up into the sky for all whatever.
However you want to go about executing the disappearance, and then it's up to the players as to how they uncover where they need to go, how they need to go, and then actually follow through on the rescue mission.
Our own, and out of the box, I have a few flagged that I looked up that have to do with rescue. One that only tangentially might is Phoba's Bet, which I had an occasion to like look closer at recently. And that is a good instigator for like a party member going missing, because spoiler alert, it's basically there is a Medusa bounty hunter and somebody, it's like, well, whatever villain from your campaign would have the means, and Medusa hired her to get that person. And it's like, just a few little tweaks of the stat block and giving her a portable hull, I think, is like, it would be very hard to detect her presence coming up through like huge stealth, and basically her tactic is sneak up, look at the person, turn them to stone, push it in the portable hole, fold it up, and go. So it's like, that's a pretty good premise, right?
Yeah.
There's no detecting that person because they're in a pocket dimension. Oh wow, we just got a super
Man.
chat from Danny Bella Chasma
Hey,
Portal
Danny,
getting
thank
in
you
some
so
notes.
much.
Yeah, your extra planar Uber, which totally, hey, with the new Spelljammer, it's like, you gotta take the Phlogiston away and the crystal spheres. There'd probably totally be portal Ubers in my version of it, just like there's Hark, which is the fantasy social media platform.
Yeah, and that actually spans across several different games.
Yeah.
But hashtag Octothorpe.
Yeah, that's right. So let me ask you, in looking at my own notes and things on rescue missions and thinking about it, I realized like I sort of have a few guidelines for myself with rescue missions. So like, when I'm the DM, if I give players, if there's a rescue mission, they kind of operate like a video game in the sense of like, well, the person in need of rescue will be in danger is precisely when you go into the room where they're being held, right? You know what I mean, right? Because it's like, I don't want to keep track of time, and but players don't know that you aren't either. So it's like, if they buy into the premise of somebody being rescued, because they were kidnapped by demonic cultists or something, you probably want to make haste, right?
Sure.
And the other one was, I totally forgot my own point. I haven't I've written down, but I have somebody else. But yeah, basic. Oh, and it was as soon as that happens, then it's like I am keeping track of time. Like, so basically, the person's not in danger until you see them, and then once that happens, they are totally in danger. Like, the rescue person does not have plot armor once the shit goes down.
I was going to ask that because there's definitely DMs out there that the sense of danger is alive, but is it real or is it a facade?
Right.
I think when it comes to rescue missions, you shouldn't always treat it with the same string. Like, we as dungeon masters, we are the master puppeteers, coordinating all of these things. And depending upon the story, it could very well be that, the person who needs the rescue might not actually need the rescue. The person who needs the rescue, like, they might be in danger, but the person who has them captive is not going to hurt them because it's needed for the next thing. It's there to lure you in, and you are the real, you're the real thing. These guys just happen to be the bait to bring you into the trap. Or it could very well be, hey, they're captured, and you're getting there in the nick of time because you know what? They want information, or this person's gonna die. End of story.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I suppose depending on circumstances, but I was thinking of my own experience. Like, yeah, usually the people were in like peril, of a sense. But I do. But as an addendum to that, I do have sort of like make a note. It's like, if players hear about somebody in dire need of peril or rescue and don't ever do anything about it, then I just usually, it's like they're not waiting indefinitely. It's like, I'll resolve that, whether, maybe I'll make a roll or just like, well, it'll be cool. But, it's not still waiting for them if they're like, hey, should we go see if we can rescue them? It's like, that was so long ago. It does not count.
So Danny throws out there, the person in need of rescue is your future self. And depending upon what you do will determine what happens to you later. But you don't tell the players it's, your future self. It'll ask after the rescue attempt. I think that's
starting to deal with time and time travel, which is not something you're super enthusiastic about.
I'm not huge on playing the time game just because there's so many wonky things that happen at the table. The only way I would do it is if, like, you give them the sense of familiarity and maybe comfortability, and let them just kind of stew with, is it a brother, a cousin, an uncle, a father?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Just let it go until everything has kind of resolved itself out, and you have the ability to kind of like after plan it.
Yeah. Then they have that moment like at the end of the movie where it's just like, like they realize, like, was that us? Then it cuts.
I can deal with time,
and that's where we'll pick up next week.
I can deal with time wonkiness and after planning, all over the place. That's not a big deal. But trying to deal with it in the moments, it's like, all right, you're really causing me a headache here. I don't want to go in this direction right now. So
Yeah.
now the other direction, because there's plenty of ways that I thought about, rescue missions,
Sure.
and some of it could be the incidental or the accidental, using the you mentioned Phobos Bet and the Gorgon or the Medusa, creatures that have the ability to turn somebody into stone. If you're playing like a later game where you have flesh to stone or stone to flesh, and you come across a statue and you get some kind of inclination, like you could rescue somebody that
That's pretty dope. Yeah, for
might have
sure.
been out of it for a year, a decade, 100 years, and they could be very out of sorts. Oh look, I'm really looking for this item, and it was said to have come in this direction and disappeared. Oh well, it's on that person who's a statue, and blah 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 blah. So you have to, cast stone to flesh, and
Which
then
itself could be a quest just to get the means to do that.
indeed. So like rescue missions, could be part and parcel of another bigger quest. Um, you know, so I like those kinds of things, but you can also turn things on its side. Now, I don't know how much I went into the last session of our Shadow of the Demon Lord game. Well, we were supposed to rescue a a nobleman's daughter, and she turned out to be the big bad of the evening. So that can be a fun. We're going to turn the rescue mission upside down, and the person you go to rescue is the person that you have to fight or have to kill because, dear God, they're awful, horrible, and you don't want them in this world. So
You
definitely,
find yourself in need of rescue.
uh, like that kind of thing can be there, and you as the DM have the ability to again, play puppet master.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, we're going to coordinate things. So, oh, you stage this, pseudo hard fight, and then you realize, oh God, I got a harder fight on my hands. Well, crap, what do I do?
When you were talking about, like somebody that had been petrified like long ago and stuff, it was reminding me of my campaign. One of the characters did get turned to stone by a Medusa once, yeah, and it was like towards the end of a session, and they were like really honestly trying to figure out because they were like reading the spell, and it's like its weight goes up, and they're like, we can't pick him up. They're like we can't just pick up this statue because it weighed like, I don't know, like 2,400 pounds or something like that. They did the math and stuff, and it's just like none of us can even do that. We're like down and deep in this dungeon, and what are we gonna do? So yeah, that stuff can happen to you as well. Eventually. Yeah.
We had a game back years ago, and this is during the Nerdarchy times. Aurelion was turned to stone
Oh yeah.
in an adventure. Now it happened to be during a like dreamscape adventure, so like he he didn't die. He wasn't permanently petrified, but it was viewed as a not success. So
Mm-hmm.
therefore he lost out on the adventure reward. So I was quite saddened by that. On all because I failed a saving throw.
Yeah, it's a tough feeling. I remember when it happened, and it's like the character's just like, because I failed by like more than 5 or whatever on the saving throw, and then just it's like you don't even want to admit that it happened. It's just like, but what about this? It's like, dude, no, like, am I dead? They're like reading it, like, but it says this and this. It's just funny. That like panic. It's like you're petrified, man. You got turned to stone. It happens.
Yeah, it truly sucks, and having characters essentially like, okay, well they're dead or retired until something changes.
I
So
feel like at this point, this is almost like one of my stories. Like people always review all the time, and Dave too is like, oh, I already told that story 1,000 times. I probably have it this too. That was the one where they made a pact with they contacted the one character's patron to see if he could get him out of it, and he's like, okay, but you have to do this other thing, which was destroy whatever was in this crate. that was at this place, and that was what they were trying to go get. And those two characters, like the two of the characters, the petrified guy and the warlock, they're the only ones that knew about this, and they never told any of the other players what happened. All the other players knew was like, he's not petrified anymore. And they managed to just get that thing destroyed without anybody knowing. They were like trying to get away in their in a stolen ship, and it was down in the cargo bay, a spell jamming ship.
Sure.
And I think like the back of the ship got blown up by the pursuers, and they had to jettison it. Like the other player, actually the other players, not them, were like, we have to get rid of this thing and jettison. They're like, hey, okay, I guess if if you say so. And they all just got rid of it and got away. And I was like, wow, that was pretty amazing turn of events that all went down like that. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, you can have all kinds of, fun antics and craziness when you start, getting into hidden quests and
Yeah.
Now,
their first big adventure was a rescue mission. Was to rescue a dwarven smith who had gone to like a moon of her planet where there was like an ancient forge, and it had been taken over by fire newts. Because it was like right when Volos came out, so there was a ton of my Volos Masters and my adventures for a while after that.
Well, that was our first news source.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. So yeah, it was just crawling with fire newts and the spiders and the warlocks of Imix and stuff, and they were using her to open a portal, and out came a flame drake, which I think is from Tome of Beasts.
Okay.
And it was like a wormling, but the longer they went on without Septimus ritual, it was like rapidly going through the age ranges. So I got up to like, I'm gonna say adult pretty quick, and they were like, I don't know, 4th or 5th level at this point.
Nice.
Maybe 6th. And they pursued it in their ship because it broke out of the thing and was like flying. And this was like the first time they'd ever really done anything exciting in their ship. And they were like, this is so awesome. They're like, we're chasing a dragon like in a flying boat and a moon of a planet and stuff. And they shot a ballista at it, and then the monk jumped off onto it and like punched it in the face, and that killed it, and he rode it down to the ground. And he was just like, oh my god, that was super exciting. So nobody was in need of rescue from that one.
There are plenty of I'm certain we could regale story after story.
Yeah, sorry, I went off on a tangent.
You don't ever have to apologize for sharing cool stories. That's kind of...
They did rescue the dwarven smith, by the way.
It's kind of one of the things that we do here. I look at rescues as yes, it is a staple, but I ask, like, how many different ways can you run a rescue mission, beyond the just, quest giver says go get person, you go and get person. What is another way to kind of go about doing these kinds of things?
Sure. I mean, like I said, I've been thinking about this for many weeks, and you and I especially tend to like get into like developing like, here's a campaign idea. I mean, even in our own real world, there's like, extreme rescue people and like paramedics, and I don't even know the job term, but like people that do like extremely perilous rescues, like oil rigs and glaciers and all that stuff. And then again, we're talking D&D, so there's all those things that we have in the row, plus like magic and monsters and all that stuff. So like, I think a campaign, again, if you're going to make like rescue the theme point, and it doesn't have to be like everyone's just like the rescue of the week, but that's the basic premise, that everybody's going to contribute their skills to being on this like rescue squad of like, just like, and so even in the chat space, it's like, rescuing somebody from the demi-plane spell, that could totally be a valid thing. It's like, that's complicated and dangerous work and stuff, and and then between adventures, just do whatever everything else does between adventures, like whatever the characters get into, and probably side quests develop, and they have NPCs they want to talk to. But that's sort of like the connective tissue between the adventures, is like they work for an organization that, and there is even like the Harpers and stuff. It's like maybe they're not exclusively focused on rescues, but they're like, there's people that you can contact who can get stuff done for you in a dangerous fantasy world. and you're those people. You're
So
the
you're
18.
saying, so where you got there before me, Kevin. You're saying that there's someone who you can call, when a dangerous mission is necessary.
And that's fun, right? Like, you know me, I love campaigns where there's like any kind of premise, because it's like then all the characters, even if they have different personalities and stuff, are there for a common cause. And it happens to be at least lean on the somewhat altruistic side. Like, even if you charge people for it, you're still doing something good. So I like that aspect. I mean, I like to play heroic adventures.
Completely. I mean, even when I go slightly shady, there's still that altruistic aspect in there.
Not in Zoom Mafia though. I find that's actually fun, because the whole premise is like, we're supposed to be criminals in a really dangerous world. So
and I've completely leaned into it. I mean, the one session, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna spend a marker to kill 3 more.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you can get more.
Got a rep, man.
Well, I mean, that's the hopes. I don't think I can get more brutal than that. But when I look at like my Shadow of the Demon Lord character, now, if you're not overly familiar with the setting, I'll try to make this be a little bit brief. But as there are spells in D&D having different categories, so too is that in Shadow of the Demon Lord. But there are types of spells that are labeled as kind of forbidden, and player characters can take them. But when you use forbidden magic, you can become corrupted, twisted, whatever have you. I don't know all the ins and the outs, but it's basically like you're taking a walk on the dark side. You're becoming a Sith Lord, however you want to take it. And it is possible to be like, yep, I've become so evil that hand the character sheet over to the DM, roll up somebody new because you're now an NPC. And my character is, definitely not a super good guy. I mean, his backstory is he was literally part of a cult, So it was like, well, we're not talking about, bunnies and flowers here. But at the same time, like, we found a book of necromancy, and in that world, necromancy is categorically a forbidden magic, turning someone into,
as it should be.
Oh, I'm not here to debate that one.
I'm just being a provocateur.
Sure. So it was like, I'm like, no, we have to destroy this book. And so I asked the DM, I'm like, did you think that my character would have any interest there? He's like, hey, I just put it out there. You guys are going to do what you're going to do. But I wasn't sure. So I'm like,
yeah, I guess it is like, you probably agree. It's like, I prefer playing heroic games and stuff, but there is certain games that just let like those. It's like, well, yeah, that's kind of the conceit of playing the game, is that it is a world like that. So, it's fun to kind of like indulge that on occasion.
Sure.
Or a game like a Maximum Apocalypse, where it's just like, well, maybe not an a-hole, but it's like, yeah, I mean, being heroic means something different when it's just like, we got one bullet to share between the 6 of us, and there's like demons and zombies out there. Like,
yeah.
It's like, I ain't going out of my way to help anybody that is not in this group.
So we are now at the halfway part.
Oh, wow.
I have just a one mention for my administrative duties. Fellow nerds, if you are not aware, this Saturday is Free RPG Day.
Oh.
Please go and, check out freerpgday.com. Find out which of your local flags are offering, the kits, and go and show them some love, because, for the actual stores that support it, that stuff ain't free to them. They actually have to buy it. So go and show them some love, get some cool stuff, and, while you're there buying, get some free RPG Day swag. One of these days, I hope to get Nerdarchy involved in this, but it's a matter of remembering ahead of time enough to kind of contact the company and see what is the process for submitting. There's some.
You mean to actually have like a physical stuff?
We could do a digital thing on our site, to kind of support it.
Hey, why
But
don't we? You're your boss. You can make a call. We won't say so. We won't say what, but we have a heck of a lot of titles on there. How about we have a category called free at Nerdarchy the store on the website. How
so
about what day is free RPG
Saturday.
Day? Saturday.
Saturday.
We'll pick one of our titles and put it in, make a new free one in there. We got like 60 things, man. We can pick one of them that's.
Sure, we'll figure something out off air, and
Oh, you know what? We could make one of the ones. Well, I'm just speculating, so don't host this. But we could make one of the ones that's in the series that you get one with when you sign up to the newsletter. You get a free module, and there's like 4 modules in that series. We could make another one in that, perhaps. So anyway, go check out the store on Saturday. There'll probably be something new in there for you.
So I personally am leaving New Jersey, and I'm going to be going to the Days of Nights in Newark, Delaware.
That's a cool name for a con.
They so they're
Or would it?
for it's just it's the name of the store.
Oh, okay.
So it's going to be from 10 to they open at 10 a.m. Saturday morning. So my plan is to be there at 10.
Okay, cool. That sounds fun.
So if anybody happens to be pseudo local to Newark, Delaware, and you hear this before Saturday the 25th, and you want to come, say hi to me, I might bring some of my own Nerdarchy swag to kind
That's
of
cool.
give away. I'll try to remember to bring my mimic bag with my journal in it for you to sign and what have you. But that's my plan. Days of Nights, Saturday, June 25th at 10 a.m. And again, support your free RPG day and your local flags.
Yeah, I'll have to go support mine on Saturday, which the closest one is also carries out of the box. And I think the owner is going to be on the live chat this Friday at Immortals Inc. in Rocky River, I believe. This Friday's live chat guest on this channel at noon. Nice. Carlos.
Back to your regularly scheduled program of rescue.
Yeah, another way that you can use rescue is for the party to be rescued. So, imagine like disaster type movies and things like that. Now, what if the party becomes trapped somewhere and they have to hold out until rescue can get to them? And again, we have those same things where it's like there's tons of exciting real world stuff, and then when you start layering in the D&D stuff, then it gets all kinds of crazy.
So I like both of those kind of things. What if the campaign, you have a city that is in a dangerous area, and your adventuring party is highly specced out for stealth and survival and what have you, those very physical skills, and you have to kind of go in when somebody hasn't reported back and either bring back the body or bring them back alive if at all possible. Avoiding the monsters and dealing with not so much traps but the hazards and a very very.
Oh yeah, man! We're both around the same age. I am imagining so many '90s disaster movies right now. Just like the subway tunnel collapses, a volcano goes off. It rains too much, and there's floods everything. Yeah, there's tons of things.
Well, I'm thinking, you've got chasms, you've got dangerous plants, you've got
yeah.
Predators of numerous kinds that might be beyond the capacity of what your characters are. Maybe the premise of the game is, all right, you're supposed to be the experts, so maybe you got to be a human who has taken the feat that gives you expertise and a skill. Rangers, bards, or rogues. So somebody who is excelled in some way, shape, or form. Like your bard could literally be like, well, my spells are for healing and these kinds of things, not so that you can fight the monsters, but so that when you get to them you can be the field medic. So like you could definitely do a lot of those kinds of things. Maybe you got a barbarian, they're not the best at the skill aspect, but they're going to be the tank of the party.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have anyone
Oh,
that's
that would be really exciting.
bogged down with heavy armor and that kind of stuff, so that you can kind of easily move in and out of stuff. I think there could be a lot of fun in that kind of game and make it very exploration
Yeah.
skill heavy.
I think as the DM, you would have to establish early and clearly that the the creatures, like I guess I'm thinking of like like did you see that Tomorrow War?
I've heard of
That
it.
was Prime thing. Just one of those things where like there's alien invaders and it's like you have no chance against them. It would
Right.
start like I'd have to show like one of them tear up like 10 armored soldiers, like no problem. So just like no, like your triumph in this campaign is if you come across so you can beat one of them maybe by the end of this campaign.
Sure.
Like there, you know what I'm saying?
The-
Just to establish it, like we could take them. It's like you can't.
Yeah, the idea for that style of game is the
Avoiding them.
the army rangers or the Marines. You are the specialists to get in and get out. You're not designed to sit down and fight.
Yeah.
So if things get to combat, it's a fighting retreat.
Right.
Not a we draw the line here. No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Yeah, and that can make things pretty tense. And then if you play for a while and have a campaign, like and eventually maybe they do kill one of those monsters. That would feel pretty awesome. It's just like, whoo, that was.
There's
really
a couple
tough.
topics in the chat.
Okay.
So I'm gonna call them out.
Sure.
So I apologize if I'm pronouncing this wrong, but Hiveland Tough, give a rescue mission and then find out when you get there that absolutely they don't want to be rescued. I think that could be a lot of fun because then it gets into like a role-playing thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have a mission to do. Where does your character stand on this mission? Are you going to go against the wishes of the person that's there? Or are you going to be like, no, I got a contract to do. I gotta take you in. Or do you say, no, I'm going to wash my hands of this and walk away and let them, live their life.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one from Parks is hired by a dragon to rescue their stolen egg, which is meant to be a gift at a royal wedding. I think that's got so many layers in it that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty dramatic. Stolen egg.
I mean, just imagine, like, so, all right, number one, you're contacted by a dragon. That in and of itself is impressive. So why isn't the dragon doing it, themselves? Is it in a spot that they can't easily get into? Is there threats to the egg if the dragon does something? Does the dragon have other eggs that it has to protect so it can't go get the other? If it's a gift at a royal wedding, holy crap, a dragon is giving a gift of their own egg to royalty. That's
pretty
layers of connections all over the place. So yeah.
So that right there, that tells me it's like, well, that could be a pretty useful premise for a high level adventure, because it's like, well, the entities involved are probably extremely powerful, and a dragon wouldn't contact like third level adventurers. I mean, again, you could, I'm just saying, like, usually it's hard for people to think of like high level adventure hooks and stuff. So like something like that sounds like it could be pretty interesting. Also with the Dragonlance coming up, I'm thinking like the dragon armies steal the good dragon eggs to make draconians. So, and me, I love like war stories and things like that. So I'm looking forward to that Dragonlance. If just for that, I hope it really is like a war game. Like that's a great backdraft for a setting. You and I have been chatting. I don't want to give you spoilers and stuff, but like that Obi-Wan show, it's like I never really cared about the Force much at all in the Star Wars universe and stuff, but like focusing on just that intersecting with the war part of Star Wars has been super interesting. I'm loving that show, and just like, man, it is a dramatic backdraft for stories. So playing like soldiers that are like, look, you have got to go get this clutch of dragon eggs, or it's like, or it's just bad stuff. They're making draconians and just bolstering their forces, and it's just terrible. So that sounds like a pretty dramatic hook on both the high end and the low end.
Now to have a war as a backdrop to me, is compelling and interesting. And as Star Wars has already showed, there are plenty of individual and small person stories that can be told in and around a global or galactic
Yeah,
conquest or war.
right.
I'm not afraid of, oh my God, the picture's too big. But part of me hopes in that book, if war is the backdrop, I want to see some kind of simplified system for running, some mass war.
Yeah.
And having character classes either via feats or just in general. Well, when you step into a role as this class, this is what you do for the army,
Yeah.
for your group.
Yeah, in doing those, I've been going through all the old unearthed arcanas over on the website, chunk by chunk, and looking at all the things that didn't make it, all the character options that didn't make it into an official form, because there's a lot more than even character options in those. And one of them is a mass combat thing, and the whole point is like, it explains like, well, D&D got its start from being like, you're not the big army, you're just these people, so the rules in that UA are kind of like designed to like, well, how do the roles function as leaders in army, or in a mass combat, but also keeping the focus on the individual characters. So they're pretty good. I don't remember much of them, but I was thinking like, that's not bad for just a couple. I think it's like 9 pages long, maybe. You'll find it online. But I also like with the Dragonlance thing that's coming out. It reminds me of the first edition modules because it went right through the story until I got the DL 12, I think, which was just like a battle game. And they're making a companion battle game for this Dragonlance campaign too, where it's like, you want to play the army thing? There you go. And then you command. And I think there's actually like stuff in the campaign book that like is affected by and affects that battle game. So it's like, if you do this and here, if you accomplish this goal, like this happens in the battle game, or if you win this war, this part of the game changes. That seems pretty awesome to me.
Well,
Did you have that module as a kid with all the little cardboard chits to represent all the armies and the huge map of Kryn?
I didn't really get into Dragonlance. Dave cared more about Dragonlance than I did, and
I was a huge Dragonlance stan.
In second edition, I never bought any of any models. I bought a couple campaign settings, but some of
they were coming out with them like every week. It seemed like in second edition.
I adored Dark Sun.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a lot of the Dark Sun stuff. I use the word had like it's gone away. Some of the Dark Sun stuff has kind of gotten damaged, but I mean, like all of my D&D stuff I haven't done.
Is it all down in your basement there somewhere?
So my second and third edition stuff right now is in 2 different places. Some of it is over there, and some of it is currently out in the trailer, boxed up.
Oh, okay.
But the plan is to, like, once we build the edition, to really look through and kind of get rid of some of the duplicates, because I know that I've got some, but then just trying to organize partly to see what really is there. But another thing of looking and kind of checking out to see like what older content might be able to be breathed new life into 5th edition.
Oh, there's so much, man.
As blog posts or, just chat ideas. So like there's plenty of stuff that's out there. It's a matter of
just the fun nostalgia of looking through the art and all the old stuff and remembering the first time. I remember just the first time I got like the Al Qadim box set. Just like we were so like, I'm gonna play a barber, and they got this like elemental, wizard cat class and blah 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 blah. It was, like all the art was cool.
Well, I don't know if I have any of the Al Qadim stuff. Now,
we got everything. Like me and my friends, like we had every box set and thing that came out. There's a lot of them we stole from Wild Books, but a lot of them we actually legitimately bought as well.
Now this past weekend I did watch the live action version of Disney's Aladdin with Will Smith, which I thought was, okay, but visually pretty darn impressive. From a D&D perspective of things that you could do that would be a lot of fun and change the visuals of a D&D setting.
Mm-hmm.
But to actually go ahead and look at a different magic system like that could be a lot of fun as well. So
yeah, that's true. A lot of the second edition stuff had like tweaks to magic, like the Karatur stuff had like wasn't it based on like that Legend of the Five Rings sort of setting with the Crab Clan and all that stuff? Or maybe I'm just mashing things up.
I mean, you might be mixing L5R.
Is that the game that had like the crane and there's a bunch of novels based on it? They're pretty good. I read all those novels.
Legend of the Five Rings was another, and this is far away from Rescue, but I'm going to dive in. Legend of the Five Rings was an awesome game. I played a little bit of it in college. Me being very martial heavy in my college days, I very much veered towards the Crab Clan, because they were supposed to be like the most physical, the most honorable, because like their life, they fought on the wall.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Did you read? So you read all those novels too. Like each one was about a different clan. Yeah, I love those.
And like the demons would come.
Yes.
To attack.
A lot of using of jade and stuff in there.
Oh magic. Yeah. Jade was like your purification stone and what to not get turned into demons and what have you. But there was Phoenix and Crane and Unicorn and all these other things. I actually wound up having some of a good number of the L5R card game that wound up
nice.
Off of it as well. So I have a whole bunch of that stuff as well. There's a lot of good stuff that came out. But I will rescue you from me going off on a tangent of another role-playing game.
Okay, I was gonna say I got a good rescue as well for you.
But L5R is one of those systems that you can actually die during character creation. So it's pretty
so in preparing for this chat, and we've been talking a lot about like different ways, like how you can twist and look at rescue things different. In our own out of the box, there's 4 different encounters that feature rescues, all completely different. I know we're short on time, so I'm just going to go for them real quick. We got balance, in which a fairy trapped in a precarious trap needs rescue before they drown or are dumped into acid. We have Crones and Their Cravings, which was written by guest creator Lisa Penrose, in which a hag and a bunch of mephits are about to cook a bunch of metallic dragon wormlings for dinner. That you can rescue them from the cooking pot. Fibble's Fantastic Familiars. This one's a stretch, but one of the possible animals you can buy there is actually a polymorphed solar, I want to say, that is actually in need of rescuing from that state. And if you can figure that out and solve that mystery, then you just win D&D. And then the girl with the dragon snafu is a person. Yeah, again, I don't want to give any spoilers, but is a person in a pretty precarious infernal curse that you might be able to rescue if you can puzzle out what's going on there. So those are four pretty different takes on rescues that I found in our own premier product.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of good things that you can use there. And as Doug kind of pointed out, there's some kind of hidden gems you might not realize. So, maybe you can use some speak with animals.
Mm-hmm. And you never know. That's a good lesson for DMs and players too. Again, when you're dealing with like magic and all that stuff, there could very well, just anything you see could be something in disguise, which you brought up in one of the videos, which I think it's the sight is a superpower. What is the one thing where it's like you just see through all the
Yeah,
You
this
guys
one.
went on about that for a while, and I was like, that would be awesome.
Oh yeah, I don't remember the name of it, off the top of my head, but it was a 15th level power or 15th level warlock invocation that you can choose. That it's like, oh yeah, you see what things are in their native state.
Yeah,
Whether
oh, that's right. Yeah, whether they're
whether
shape changers, no,
shape
that's yeah,
changers
yeah.
or illusions or what have you. It's like, oh look at that. Look, in your city, you got walking around. There's a devil, there's a celestial, there's a freaking dragon. Well, I've just shat myself. Good night, everybody.
Yeah. Imagine looking at that one creature in the Fibbles thing and like, why is there a solar sitting there? Like, what is going on?
You see the solar sitting there.
Yeah. Oh man.
So I'm gonna kind of, I don't know whether it's gonna take all of the last 5 minutes here, but I'm
Go
gonna
for it.
a quite amusing story because I really felt like I was rescued this past weekend. And I had reached out to you, Doug, of like, hey, I'm looking to do this with my game, and I didn't feel really prepared. And as the time ticked on, as I got closer and closer to the start of my game Saturday night, I really felt like what I wanted to do seemed spectacular, but I wasn't ready for it. And I had no idea what my players were going to do. And they rescued me. And in so doing, I have decided I'm going to torture them for the rest of this game. So here's a bit of a premise. We're playing We Live on a Boat game, and they just came back from not so much a rescue mission, though they needed to get medical supplies to cure some curses or disease. They're not quite sure what was going rampant through most of the crew. But they stole a whole bunch of treasure from a pirate. And in that treasure was a blue and white conch shell. And had no idea how long that this was going to wind up sitting untouched, uninvestigated. But sure enough, almost right away, as soon as I gave them the list of stuff, they're like, all right, I'm playing with that. Gave it to the bard, who's like, I'm gonna like rub it and make it clean, and I'm gonna blow it like it's an instrument and this and that. And while he got a little bit of sound out of it, it started spouting water. And lo and behold, a married shows up,
Oh,
right out of it. And this was kind of inspired by, our conversation last
yeah,
month.
yeah. Yeah, that was fun.
Oh, these guys are really cool. I'm like, I like them. I didn't want to pit them against. So I'm like, well, what if the pirate had one captured?
Nice. Oh, that was in the treasure that was guarded by that Eye of the Deep. Oh, very cool.
Yes.
That's super cool, man.
So the pirate was this guy.
Yes, that is awesome.
He had a married trapped, and I had kind of made that dude kind of like magic-y a little because he was an alchemist and cast spells and whatnot. So I'm like, well, it would make sense that he might have this.
Sure.
So I was like, all right, boom, I'm going to do this. And while the NPC married never actually used the term wish, they figured out that they could ask it for a favor. And when he kind of agreed, okay, yeah, sure, I will do you a favor so long as you give me that shell back. Because out of game, he wanted to destroy it because it was used to trap one of his kind, meaning himself.
Yeah.
So that, he doesn't want it lying around because it could be used again, because they never Arcana checked it. They never cast Identify on it. So he wanted it out of there as soon as possible.
Sure.
So the party puts their heads together and they're coming up with, this idea, that idea. One person's talking about like, oh, let's power up the boat so that we're faster or better. But an idea was thrown out. What about a map that shows where we are in relation to our enemies? And as soon as the one player said map, my brain, and if you don't have kids, you're not going to see how evil this is. One image popped into my head, and I then kind of stood there kind of like clenching my hands like, please go map, please go map, please go map. And that's what they chose. So I'm like, excellent, let's make this happen. So like the married kind of gestures with his hands, and they're inside the boat sailing. And from the viewpoint, the side of the boat just completely disappears, and they're looking out across the vast ocean. And this
That's
thing
cool.
begins conducting like it's an orchestra. And as he's gesturing up, water is kind of like splashing out of the ocean and floating up in front of him as it slowly begins to craft this like light blue parchment, you know,
Nice.
floating in front of him. And he winds up, giving them the map. He takes the conch shell, completely disappears. Like him and the shell just disappear into like a splash of water that
Mhm.
instantly evaporates. And they unfurl the map, and they see a little dot that looks to be the size of the ship, or the makeout of the ship. They can see the city that they've just recently left, and a little face appears in the blue waters that says, "I'm the map," in a very very high energy voice. And it was just like, holy crap, had just put a Dora the Explorer, map into play. Because
Small price to pay for an awesome scene and an even better item for them to have.
the Jinn, the noble elementals are always looking to get one up on mortals. So I looked at it as, well, it can tell them who their enemies are, even if it doesn't happen to know what an enemy is. So they have to educate this child that's now.
Oh, that's fun.
So it's now it's a sentient magic item.
That's really cool.
That's going to have some pretty cool abilities, but it itself is going to be determined what the final stage is based over what happens.
That's super cool. Did you just think of that like in the moment?
Oh, that was entirely on the fly.
Nice.
When they said map, I'm like, all right, I've got this.
Very cool.
Then the scene got even better when my sister, who's in that game, like, she just decided to like voice the thing. And I mean, her children are, basically grown at this point in time,
Yeah.
because they're, my niece just graduated high school this past week, and
Yeah.
their other son is in college, so it's like yeah, they're adults, but we all know Dora the Explorer, and that
even I know that I think it's just from a comedy bit that somebody else did, but still.
but
Jim
so this is going to be now a key element of the game going forward. I don't think it's going to mess up any of my plans, but even if it does, doesn't matter.
You'll just wing it.
It was glorious.
Yeah.
This
isn't that the fun thing about? Isn't that the fun thing about like themed campaigns too? It's like you can just indulge every ocean thing that you want. It's like all the aquatic monsters and tropes and just anything that you like, you like from the Pirates movies or whatever. It's like I can just put it all in here. And it all makes sense because it's all themed around. It's like, yeah, it's around the ocean or whatever.
So the map is going to have the ability to kind of gain more power.
That's awesome. That's a really cool thing.
As it does and sees more. I haven't given a whole lot of thought. I mean, it's only been 8 hours or less since they acquired it. But it.
Oh, really? It was just last night?
It was a Saturday night.
Oh, okay.
So I'm looking to see exactly what winds up transpiring. Now, they could only stand it for so long, so they handed it to the NPC paladin that's on board the ship. So it's learning a lot of things about virtue right now.
Oh, that's good.
So it's definitely going to be geared in the the neutral good, the lawful good direction. So
sure.
We gotta ban this guy. Hold on.
What's going on? Something bad going on in chat?
Oh yeah, it's
I don't see anything. Do you mind? I don't see anything going on.
Oh, How do I remove this?
I'm not sure what's going on.
There's some abusive language showing in the chat.
Is there?
I'm showing it.
Well, but yeah, maybe mine didn't update or something. I don't see it.
Well, maybe it's apologize about that.
That's okay.
So with that, we are actually just past the past the time. So
Yeah.
thanks for coming on and hanging out and talking about rescue. I'll throw one last shout out. Go check out freerpgday.com. Find out if your local flags is taking part, or if you're willing to travel a little bit further and go find something new. As I said, I personally am planning to go to the Days and Nights in Newark, Delaware, 10 a.m. Saturday morning. So come check me out over there. And until next time, stay nerdy.